Welcome back to Double D Do Business, and I'm Dave Evans. I'm here with Debbie. Debbie's here.
Debbie Halls Evans.
Yeah, we're late today, aren't we, putting this podcast out? We were due to do it on Friday. And despite that, we have some really exciting episodes already recorded coming up as well. What caused us to be late today was time, and how we decided to invest our time over and above recording this. So we want to put the question to you, and Debbie's got some rationale for this in a moment. Was it the right decision or not? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So Debbie, talk to us about time this week.
Okay, so I recently wrote a blog post about the glorification of time. And I also find that we can be really contradictory. So we wanted to be really realistic and open and honest, which is our approach in everything that we do, and actually how it affects us. So looking at what creates time issues for us. So, and ultimately it's ourselves. We tell ourselves that we are continuously busy. We tell ourselves it. And we tell other people that we're continuously busy for so many reasons.
So Debbie, why do you believe then? So it is a universal truth that the number one currency every human on this earth shares is the currency of time. How you use time in your lifetime. Yep. So we all know that. We all subscribe to it. We all tend to believe it's true. Yet, what is it about human behaviour that makes us make up noise about how busy we are?
Well, I think the best way is maybe to give some real life examples.
And
I think if we can give you our examples. Yeah. So this podcast is a great example. So we normally pre-record with our guests, and then we have an episode where you've just got me and Dave talking.
Like today, yeah.
So and what we decided, and what we do decide, is the theme of that podcast kind of beforehand, but we plan it and we put some structure around it. Dave's shaking his head because I'm waffling.
No, I'm listening to your linguistics. As those of you listening to Double D Do Business today know that Debbie is usually the linguistical police, and
I'm struggling today. Yeah.
You are kind of. It's interesting to hear you say that. It is Sunday, so I will give you the benefit of the doubt a little bit.
Validation, is it? So just going into time, so we normally record on a Thursday or a Friday and issue at 8, unless we've got pre-recordings with our guests because it fits around their diaries. So what happened this Friday was we worked late, and then we chose not to record that day and say that we would do it on Saturday, knowing that we were spending time with our children as well. You've not been well.
Yeah.
And on Saturday we were going to travel back, so we'd done a little trip from Edinburgh.
400-mile drive round trip,
to see the kids, which was awesome. We had an absolutely fantastic day. The weather was terrible on the way back, and we were going to record the podcast, and we kind of felt we were putting ourselves in this cycle of we've not got enough time. But actually we realised that we were choosing to be safe, secure, choose our family, Dave's health. So there was lots of things, and this is what stimulated this really good conversation that Dave and I then had, was time has got to be relevant to the individual, and as long as you're not justifying that you're too busy and then you choose to put your time and effort into something else, then actually that becomes really valuable. We all have 24 hours a day.
Yeah, we have to be careful though, because if I'm listening to your reasons, which I was part of, it does still sound like a partial excuse.
Well, I said that to you this morning.
Entirely,
I totally agree that we're going to be, I actually genuinely believe that when you have discussions about time, you become really contradictory, because you'll say, well, this is what we're going to do. We've got 10 time hacks for you to go through today, for example. But reality also kicks in, and you've got to make the decision then is, what is this priority? What is the thing that I want to benefit the most from? And I just think the biggest outcome of this conversation, this podcast, is, are we being honest? Are we being realistic? And are we actually justifying or creating excuses, or are we using our time wisely?
Well, and let's ask you a common sense question, hopefully. Is what are the time hacks for?
What are the what?
What are the time hacks for?
The time hacks are to help people be more time efficient.
That's great news. That's great news. I was just pulling you up, Debbie, because you spoke about the time hacks like it was an assumption we all knew what they were for.
All right, sorry.
Yeah. So
there was a
there's a little acronym that I made up this morning.
Dave loves an acronym, so that if you don't know that, he loves an acronym.
And I love models. I love models that when you stop and think about a hypothetical model, can I use it? Can I think about it? Can I apply that to my current set of circumstances? So we took the word time and I dismantled it into 4 words.
Can we just say, I know we're doing linguistics today because that's actually quite funny, but you've just said I, and then you said we took. I didn't do anything about this. This is your acronym.
Well, technically you did. You've written it down in your notebook. So you have taken it. Yeah. And therefore, for the listeners, not only has she taken the model I created earlier into the land of we, she's taken it from her telephone, unhindered by me, no suggestions from me, and placed it into her notepad where her 10 hacks are. So technically you definitely did take it, Debbie, and you're part of this new successful time theory.
Okay, go for it.
So the letter T in the word time stands for time. I is intentional investment. Intentional investment is how you choose to invest your time, which is why we've got 10 time hacks for you today. Measure, the letter M, is your ability to measure how you've invested it. Or for some of us today listening, just asking, did we invest our time? And can we even measure it? And then the final thing, most great things in life and in business take time to come into fruition. Therefore, do you endure? Do you execute what you're responsible for doing with your time? And do you have that right amount of energy? I forgot all about that then. You can clearly see my energy's not where it should be. So Debbie, let's go through some of these time hacks and talk us through maybe the first 3.
Okay, so I have got 10 and I will summarise them.
I'm glad you highlighted that there is 10, because I said let's go through the 10 together.
Oh, the 10.
Yeah, so do the first 3 of the 10, Debbie, and hopefully everybody by now, 7 minutes in, knows there is 10.
Okay, so some of these you may have heard before, but I'm just ignoring you. So some of these you may have heard before, but it's about doing. And again, another blog post that I wrote about recently. So the first one is diary. It actually
Why, Debbie?
Because I've not got to that point yet. I've not even finished my sentence, and then you decided to go, why? Let me finish my sentence.
Come on then.
Right, so diary. I've written it 3 times in my book. So diarise what you want to do with your time, and this can be even if you want to procrastinate, you want to do some social media, you want to read a book, you want to just have a pause, put it in your diary. The other thing I always say about diary is just keep it private. Unless you really have to share your diary with somebody else, allow yourself some privacy in scheduling your time. Nobody else has got the right to consume your time. You give permission for somebody to use it, but do diary. It does have a massive impact. I'll give you an example. Dave and I have got a project coming up, and what we'll do is we can actually get to the project and go, oh, we need to talk about this. But now what we do is we have it calendarized so that we will have those conversations, and they will happen. The thing about diary time is you can write it in your diary, or you can be absolutely fantastic. You can be the most beautiful time planner and have the best looking diary ever. But if you don't do it, it's a waste of time. Yeah. Anyway, that's the first one.
So let's cement number 1.
Okay.
If it's important, if there's something you've got to do, social, personal, professional,
put it in
get
your diary.
It in your schedule.
Yeah, put it in your diary, because you will do it, and it's important that you reflect back on your diary and look at what works. So the second one is travel time. Now, Dave hasn't seen any of these, by the way. So travel time for me is the ability. Dave's got a sore throat, so apologies, and a chest infection. But he keeps telling me he's just got a chest cold. So in regards to travel time, so look at different ways that you can impact. It is, but it's assumptive. You've self-medicated and self-prescribed your illness.
Yeah, but I think there's a fairness to say, Debbie, that
right, you've got a chest cold, darling. It's fine. It's okay. I've been looking after you and pampering you. You're okay.
Have you?
So the second part. So the second time hack is travel time, and I want you to just consider how you use your time, and I'll give you very specific examples for Dave and myself, because then it hopefully is relative. If you are travelling somewhere, can you share a car, which therefore means that somebody else could drive and you could do some proactive work? Could you change it to a public transport and actually work on the train rather than be sat in a traffic jam?
Save the environment.
Save the environment, indeed. But also, what Dave does really, really, really well.
Oh, thank you, Debbie.
I haven't mastered this one, but but he's working on planes, and when he's travelling, he actually makes the travel time productive time. So it adds value. So rather than me, for example, would be, I'll read a book, which actually you could say is really valuable travel time because I'm in learning zone, but just be really specific. Is there an opportunity to relook at your travel schedule and use it to be productive and effective? And sometimes that just might mean scheduling rest time. But the other thing about that is put travel time in your diary. What's really fascinating for me is that people don't put their travel time in the diary, therefore it looks like they've got all this space, and they haven't.
Do you know, it's the same craziest thing that there's a flip side to that when you haven't put the travel time in, so the time looks like there's more available, is when some of our best corporate clients spend their days in back-to-back meetings with no break. I mean, that is so unproductive.
It is, and also you should always end meeting. People say to us, why do you work to the minute? And it's for lots of reasons. One is from a brain and subconscious level, but also it means that we might work for 44 minutes for a meeting, and that gives us time in between other conversations to actually be able to do the action that goes with the meeting. So that kind of goes back into your diary.
What does a brain and subconscious level mean?
Well, you know, when you say 11:11, your brain will remember that if you just said 10 past 11, because it's a significant connection to the brain.
That makes a lot more sense. Okay. Thanks, Debbie.
I'm being clearly very assumptive today. And the third one, before Dave goes off on his own rant, is turn off notifications. This is a massive one. So I think, for me, just turn them off on everything.
I don't even have WhatsApp.
No, I know you don't. So I think in regards to is the notifications become instant distractors. We think we're now more important than we are. All equal, by the way.
Debbie, if anyone WhatsApps me, though, I do regularly check. I just don't have it, so it interrupts my screen.
No, I get that, but that's the whole thing, isn't it? We are talking to somebody. The one thing that gets me is when you sat in a restaurant and people are having dinner and they'll see something flash up on the phone and then they go and connect with it instantly, but they might be mid-conversation. Dave actually did this the other day, by the way, where we started talking about something that we were working on together, and then he picked up his phone mid-sentence and then just stopped talking. So this is not about perfection. This is not about, me and Dave are the perfect time managers. It is actually the reality
it's about, we're very human about what we get right and what we get wrong, and what we're saying today with the time model. Let's become really intentional.
So turn off notifications, full stop, on your phone. It will transform how you interact with your phone and other people as well. So that's my first three.
Like that, Debbie. Those three so far are very, very useful. And things that we're always...
You sound so flipping sarcastic when you say that.
Because sometimes I do sound sarcastic, even when I'm not. That was me being sincere.
Okay.
So talk us through 4 and 5.
All right, so I'm going straight into them.
You are, yeah.
All right, so number 4 of our amazing time hacks is say no. Please say no.
Who made that famous?
What?
Who made that famous in the last decade?
Say no?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Who?
Have a guess.
You.
Have one guess. No, not me.
I don't know. Who?
The late, very successful Mr. Steve Jobs.
Oh, did it?
One of his principles was learn to say 1,000 no's.
All right, well, there you go. I didn't know that. So just in regards to saying no, no takes courage. No also means you have to be vulnerable. No also means that you have to be much more self-aware. We say yes for many, many reasons. We don't want to offend. We want to look like we're really productive and effective. We're really good at our job. There's a mountain of reasons we want to get other people's approval. What happens with saying no is it actually has a more impressive impact on other people, because people know that you're prioritizing time, you're more productive, you'll get things done. So please learn to start to say no. And a great way is to use the other 3 hacks that we've already talked about. Turn off notifications, employ your travel time as work time or rest time, and diarise things.
Love it. That's really great. So one of our favourites is coming up next. If anyone's been following us on social media and across our platforms, this is an exciting one. What is it, Debbie?
So I've used this one because it is a bit of self-promotion, but I'm quite happy with that. One of the things I have said is use our coach pad as a way of managing your time. Now, ultimately...
Coachpad.com?
Coachpad.com. www.coachpad.com. Over the next year, we are really... pushing CoachPad and getting people to start to use it. We've got over 300 users on it, which is awesome. But ultimately, the promotion of CoachPad is it allows you to use one app, one process to get everything done. And again, that means you're going to be more productive and effective. If, like me, historically, and I was a little bit of I once told Dave how much we spent on apps and things that I had running at a while. Not anymore, I have sorted this out. But we were spending a lot of money. And I was flitting from one app to another.
It's less the money, it's the quantity.
It was the quantity, but it made me less productive.
How many apps?
There was 78 apps.
78 apps. Wow.
Yeah, 78. And it was, and now I use 4, by the way, as in one's from specific creative one, but the one that we manage our business off is Coachpad for us. Now, I know you may have others, but do check it out. It's 30 days free, but go to www.coachpad.com. The principle behind this is Coachpad gives you the ability to manage projects, time, schedule, goals, everything. But if you don't want to use Coachpad, that's also okay. Also, I'll be really mortified if you don't. But the other is just use one. Just use one system.
So that's it. That's the word.
Yeah.
Use a system. We use Coachpad.com because of what it does for us. Really engaging visually, really good tried and trusted system. What we're saying is if you haven't got a system, get a system.
Get a system, yeah.
If you haven't got a system, you can't automate it.
No, and use one. Just please use one.
To drive your focus with your time and focus with the things you've got to do, deliver and get done.
Well, it also means you will do it.
Yeah.
If you have 78 like I had, it got to the point where Dave would ask for something to be done and I couldn't remember which app it was in, what I was doing, etc. So that's how it happens.
So let's keep rolling, Debbie, because we've got some more great content to talk about in a little while. What's next?
Okay, so 6 is anybody that does project management or does coaching will know about the Eisenhower decision matrix. And this one is around the high urgency and high priority. So there's 4, it's a square in 4 quadrants, and the top right is high urgency, high priority. And the principle of life should be is live your life in high urgency, high priority.
Yeah, so cut the model in half.
Yeah.
So you can understand how in Eisenhower's world, why the 4 boxes were relevant. You could almost be a politician today, a leader of a big commander. These are really brilliant models, and for some of us we may still need them. If you want to use your time wise, RLC recommends cut the model in half. If it's high priority and high urgency, Debbie, what should you do? What tip on your list as a time hack would help you with that? Where should those items go?
Coachpad.
And
in your diary.
Correct.
Coachpad has got a diary in it.
Correct. Get it scheduled, isn't it? So you're not having to think, worry, keep notes. Get it scheduled, get it in your electronic system like Coachpad, get the thing taken care of. What's next?
Okay, so next is please stop multitasking. So we again, and one of my final hack is very specific around this, but in regard to multitasking, it has been scientifically proven, so it's not just Debbie having a rant, but it doesn't make us productive or effective. If we single task, 1, we get a lot more done. 2, we actually get better quality of work done. We're more productive and we're more effective. So please stop convincing yourself by doing 5 things at once. It makes you a superstar.
So can we be specific there?
Yes.
So are you talking about sat in front of your computer, 5 things open at the same time, all different, and you're not doing any one of them specifically well?
Well, no.
Or are you talking about having 5 things you know you've got to do in your peripheral, but being really focused on the one item at that moment in time?
Well, yeah, it's the one item. It's doing the one thing.
So having them around is okay.
Oh yeah, of course, because that's goes
But not
back
flitting.
to real life.
Yeah, they're not flitting in and out of them.
Exactly
in and out of, in and out.
Flitting from. So that takes me smoothly. Transitions me smoothly into the next one. So for
what number is it, Debbie?
This is number 8 of our hacks, and it's the Pomodoro technique.
Sounds like a fruit.
It is. It's tomato. It's actually the actual symbol for it is if you just type in Pomodoro tomato at the web, you get it. It's a whole program built and model around it, but ultimately it's chunking. So what it Sorry. So what it means is that you work in these, and it really endorses not to multitask but single task, is you work in 25-minute blocks, and then you have a 5-minute break. You do that 3 times, and then your fourth 25-minute block, you then have a 15-minute break. There is another scientific study, which I've written about this too, which is Lagom, which is a Swedish technique in regard to managing and being more productive. But what it means is that if we work to a maximum of, they've said 17 minutes, the challenge of the Pomodoro, but ultimately what it means is do things in chunks. be really effective. There's the Parkinson time law that does the same thing, where the Parkinson time law says we will fill the time that we have to complete a task. That is correct, isn't it?
It is, but I think you should stick to the Pomodoro.
Yes, the Pomodoro.
On its own.
Yeah,
I'll talk about the Parkinson's time law in a moment.
But it ultimately works too. Is if you single task and focus on one thing for a specific amount of time, and you chunk the activity, you will be more productive and effective.
So let's complement that, because the Parkinson's time law says time expands to fill the space you give it.
Yes.
Right. So therefore, if you give it too much time, you're not only likely to fill the time, you're also likely to not even do the task you'd set aside to that amount of time, especially if it's personal. Most people have admin and things to follow up time, and then they have 2 hours to do it, half a day even, and they don't get any of it done because they don't really want to do it.
Yeah.
So you have to reverse it. When you reverse the Parkinson's time law, which will complement what you were just talking about in number 8, Debbie, is you're also meant to shrink the time right down so time can't expand. I love your number here of 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And put your concentration at 4 times the intensity.
But it goes back to the same thing. You have to diarise that time.
Correct.
And I don't know if you all know this. This is a little extra hack. If you use Outlook and you double click on the clock when you're setting a calendar, it gives you the minutes. So it doesn't do it in 5-minute blocks. You can actually do it to the minute. So just
Brilliant.
Thought if you didn't know that.
Good to know. Number
9. So this is the reality check of life. And if you are convincing yourself that you don't...
What does that say?
It says screen time measures.
Oh, right, okay.
So in regards to, we convince ourselves that we don't go on FaceTime, we don't watch videos, we don't do this, we don't spend all this time. All Android and iOS allow you to now measure your time. Outlook have also got a really cool new update on the Office 365 if you use it, and it does its weekly analytics on what you do, and it actually starts forcing you to have your own period of effective time. It's really good, quiet time. So look at the screen time measure that you have available on your phone or your computer or any of the systems that you're using, and have a reality check of how much time you waste genuinely not doing anything. Now, going back to, if you do go back to rlc.global/blog/busy is where my blog is. This is not about well-being, health. I'm not talking about that. All I'm talking about is a measurement of self and a real reality check that says, I'm telling everybody I'm busy, but I've just wasted half a day doing nothing that has actually any benefit of the task that I needed to do.
So I do go and check that blog out. I wrote a blog a few years ago on LinkedIn called Busyness Sycophantia.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'll check that one out.
You should. It's very good. Very simple. And I remember working with this chap who's retired now in a manufacturing company, and we were walking alongside a Spanish museum in San Sebastian. And I remember the building because there were all these, from the Spanish Civil War, there were holes in the wall from the gunshots still today.
Really?
Yeah. And anyway, we were talking together about being busy and how busy his engineers were. And I said, here's what I think. Busyness is a sycophantic way of demonstrating a complete lack of focus. Because why are you telling me you're busy is all I want to care about as a coach.
Yep.
Is I want to know what your intention is. And when I hear it in corporate companies, I don't believe it usually, because the busyness is created either by self-prophecy,
yep.
so it's self-importance, or a broken system. And if you change one or the other, that person, as you've always said, Debbie, show me the diary, I'll give you your time back.
Always
right?
Brilliant at that, by the way.
Is that it's one or the other, so it's never what the person is saying. And anyone who's a direct report saying it should, or an executive who has a director boss, or an owner who hears their people telling them, you really got to think about what are they actually trying to communicate here by telling me that they're busy. And I would encourage you, take a look at how busy they actually are. You could make the difference that you're both trying to make the difference with by solving that problem. Back to you, Debbie.
Awesome. So our final hack is one that I've never seen anybody else on a hack list. Now, I do a lot of reading, but it's language. It's our language that we use around time. Now, we've also got, just linking this into another guest, Susan Abitz, one of our friends from Chicago, who's the human behaviour lab hacker, who is awesome.
She is,
But she's going to be doing a session with us, and she's recording a podcast with us. But one of the things that we specifically talked about, which was really amazing, was the language that we use, and Susan's going to give us different sides. But we do this in our coaching, NLP does it and endorses it, but we have to be more conscious of our language and how we use our language around time. And I think this is really important. So we'll say, I am so busy. So therefore we create a sense of busyness to our brain.
Which then produces a mindset.
Yes. Which is a negative one, because then it means that I'm too busy. It creates a biological impact, because therefore our body can get the stress hormone and the impact of reducing our productivity. So it actually, our brain will do what we tell it. And I keep coaching this to people, but generally it does. And therefore our language is a massive metric of that. If we are telling ourselves this, so if we say our time is precious and then we abuse it, our brain is then going to work out ways of making sure that if we're saying it's precious, why we're wasting it, and it goes back into stress hormones and things like that. So it's really important that you are acutely aware of the language that you use. And a really great exercise for this is, and it makes quite a few people uncomfortable, is actually record yourself just talking about how you use time. So maybe after this podcast, record yourself.
I'll tell you a funny story about that.
Okay, just 1 sec. I don't want to finish this element. Dave just rolled his eyes at me.
She puts her hand on me actually to stop me in my tracks.
Oh, and you've done that many a time.
Come on, Debbie.
So just record yourself and say, I'm going to speak about time and how I use time, and then just talk, free talk, and then stop and listen back and really pick up some of the words that you use, and you'll be amazed at what you identify in the way that you actually self-communicate.
Brilliant. So in terms of language, there'd be an impact. Many years ago, and let me clarify two perspectives. One is, the language you use in your own internal belief system is a self-instruction to your brain. And in the world of NLP and auto-suggestion and self-programming, so meditation, really self-programming your subconscious in order to be the best version self that you are, or that you aspire to be, it's a very useful thing to make sure that you're doing. But many years ago, when I was running a big retail store, I was going through a really difficult time. I had severe backache. I ended up having surgery and a corrective operation on the base of my spine, which is relatively standard to lots of people. Anyway, during the recovery phase, I had to rest a lot, but I still couldn't afford to not work. And I had a dictaphone back then that I'd recorded, a self-esteem. I did. And I'd recorded to myself this message about, Dave, you are magnificent, whole, loving, a really positive affirmation, and a whole series of them. And one of my deputy managers got a hold of the dictaphone. I'd left it lying around, and it was really funny because I'm quite open-minded. Imagine the store briefing the following day, Debbie. Anybody got something they want to say? Out comes the dictaphone. And in front of the whole team, my self-esteem mantra got played out. And if you're listening, Jeff Bird, I hope you remember that moment, my good friend. Anyway, back to you, Debbie. So 10 time hacks.
So 10 time hacks. Hopefully
take us through them really fast, like top of the pop.
All right, thank you. So at number 10, actually I'm going to do it the other way around because I actually think number 10 is the most important. At number 1 is diary everything. Number 2 is use your travel time wisely. Number 3 is turn off notifications for everything. Number 4 is say no. Number 5 is use Coachpad, www.coachpad.com, or one app. 6, really reconsider and focus on high urgency and high priority. Number 7 is stop multitasking. Number 8 is the Pomodoro technique, or chunk it up. Number 9 is screen time measures, know where you spend your time. And number 10, which I think is the most important, is your language on time.
Debbie, that was very good because there's some complex things to say phonetically there. I think you got through that superbly.
Thanks.
So we were talking about the subject of this podcast this morning, and in the spirit of RLC and Double D Do Business, this has been all about today creating. It's Sunday. We're going to create ways to improve the way you use time. Now, as if the universe was on your side,
it was.
A great little post came through from a very successful author, Mr. Seth Godin, is that correct?
Godin, yeah, he's incredible, and I signed up. And if you haven't signed up, please do sign up to Seth Godin. But he does a daily email. It's like a thought download of his. But he actually, I'm paraphrasing now because I've not actually got it to read to you specifically. But what he said was, stop wasting, and that's what the actual title was. And it just said, if we had known several years ago that we would be wasting 1,000 hours a year on our mobile phones. And actually, if we wasted this amount of time, we would be, and we used time as money, we would all be bankrupt. And I think it's just it was a really powerful kind of confirmation that this is is a valuable podcast and a valuable theme. And it is also about, we're not striving for perfection. What we're striving for is to just managing it more effectively to add value. And ultimately, to add value to our loved ones, because we talk about work and our business and it's all very important, but actually we do all of those things so we can add value and time to spend with our loved ones. And therefore, the reason why you're listening to this podcast on Sunday is because we did prioritise that time, and we did have an awesome day with 3/5 of our beautiful children. So it was a great day.
Well, I love that summary, Debbie. And if there was one last major tip you'd give everybody today on how to optimise their time, what would it be?
I'd be honest. Be more honest, please. Stop kidding yourself. Let's be honest. And also, do you know what? If we do waste time, we have to just go, all right, I wasted that. I need to do something better about it. That's it for me. It just be more honest.
Well, I was just doing some mathematics on that 1,000 hours, and it's really alarming.
Go on.
Because if you take the old-fashioned Western view of 70, which I think came from the Bible, which is an average person lives three score is 320s plus 10, which is 70. 70 times 1,000 hours is 2,900 and something days.
Wow.
In your lifetime. The question is, would you invest it? Think through the time model today around really making sure, are you intentionally investing your time? Do you have a measure of whether you're getting what you want out of it? And do you have the right energy, endurance, and execution as you look into the rest of 2020? So, something a little bit different for you today. Please do stay in touch with us. Debbie, one last thing, couple of things coming up. You've mentioned podcasts already.
Yeah,
I
just want to talk about some awesome guests that we have got coming up. So we pre-record our guests because we link into the events that they're doing, because that's really important. So we've got Hayden Brack coming up, and he's going to be talking about his event and his leadership principles. We've got Clarissa Christensen, who's actually going to be talking about menopause, which I know sounds a little bit off kilter, but it's so business linked with the amount of women in the business workplace.
And we're living in an age today, Debbie, where it's more okay than ever before to talk about the things that are causing you worry, anxiety, wellness. So I think it's great to pull that in. Pull that in. A bit like the book E-Myth has got nothing to do with the menopause, but it was the idea of the E-Myth is exactly what the title says, is to get you thinking differently. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that, because it's about how can we as humans support one another better. In the same spirit, we've also got, who else coming?
Ryan Stockton, your pal.
And on Wednesday, what's happening on Wednesday?
On Wednesday, we are now, RLC and Double D Do Business are sponsoring a podcast called Mind Yourself. I am guest/host with my daughters, and one of the things that we're talking about is wellbeing, mental health, and we've got some amazing, incredible guests on there, but also it gives you an insight into our history, but also, and I think Dave said a really powerful thing the other day, is about bringing, the past has made us whom we are, but therefore living in the present and dealing with the present day and how we actually manage that forward. And that's what it's about. So Mind Yourself is on the same platform as this. RLC and Double D are sponsoring it, but we'd love you to also listen and share. There's some really powerful and very personal conversations.
So I love this. So literally it is double the D, isn't it?
It is
so
double the D.
You
and
can
the
speak
daughters,
to us together at the end of the week and in the middle of the week.
And my double Ds of my daughters.
Mind Yourself. I love this.
Thanks.
So, thank you for tuning in with us. See how you get on with your time. Good luck and every success with using the 10 time hacks to improve your own time investment. We've been Double D Do Business. Every success with your learning.